We've still got that one big question that needs an answer, and that is, will a Cadillac CTS fit inside a 1949 Chev Fleetline? My wife is saying, it better, because you cut up my Cadillac. So I told her the worst case scenario is another trip to the scrap dealer. And what a deal that'd be, 2 for the price of 1. Well, for the scrap dealer. But what I'm finding is the further we get around to the front of this car, the longer that snout is. That snout on the Cadillac is about a foot longer than the grille area on the 49 Chev, and that's the 06 Cadillac. I think they're the same from about 05, maybe 04, I'm not sure, 03 to 07. And then the specs changed. But so what happens then with this fender thing, right? We're trying to close the gap at the bottom of the back of the fender, and it pivots at the top. So to close that gap means that that fender's got to come back further towards the back of the car. Well, that means the grille and everything comes back. I've got zero clearance here, and down at the bottom I've got more clearance, which means the front end of the car needs to drop down, the front end of the fenders. So I don't know, what have I got there? I've probably got 1/2 inch, I think, between there and there. And it keeps coming back and coming back and coming back, because to get a 1/2 inch, gap closed on the bottom of that fender at the back is going to be, what, 1 inch down, or at least at the front, and that's further back in. Pretty soon the radiator is going to be sticking through the grill. And that'll never do. I started measuring all of these little spaces in inches. Well, now I'm measuring in 64ths of an inch. We've got to close it. You can't, otherwise the hood will be pointing up in the air. And if we don't make it all fit, it's not going to fit. We're going to have to perform some serious surgery on the front end of this Cadillac. Administer some serious anesthesia, because this is going to hurt. Going to be a lot more cutting discs before we're done here. This front of the Cadillac has all of this paraphernalia, like built bars and stuff. This bar that goes right across the frame, that goes right across the front, in front of the radiator. And we've got to clear all that out of there, because the actual hood has to come down on top of that. I keep cutting more of the Cadillac off all the time. Take it back another inch, take it back another 1/2 inch, take it back another 1/4 inch. There's nothing left on the front of it. So we're going to put a little replacement frame here, 1x2 tubing, and build something solid there that we can re-hang the radiator to, and then hang the grille to, and the hood latch and the hood, everything will close on there, hold the fenders in place. Ended up putting, I think, 1/2 inch clearance between the radiator and this frame bar, which, yeah, I didn't want to make it any closer. Side to side, like, how do we know that we're in the center? And been able to establish center lines here on every part, and those are working out good, because I established a punch mark there with the laser light, and then come back, and once I welded this frame in, I could actually measure down at the bottom part between the Cadillac frames and get an exact middle, and then squared it up to there. So those are very close, very accurate, which means, you're double checking yourself, and measuring is a huge thing. The trick is to find as many places of reference and then ways to measure as you possibly can. So, I've been from one end of this car to the other, measuring every little thing that I can possibly measure, and also measuring the clearance between the tires and the wheels, fender wells. But that's not a real good indication, because I found that both of these fenders were kind of wonky. This one was pushed in, and the one on the other side was pushed out. So at some point you have to kind of pay attention to the process, to the steps, all right? So the last time I had these fenders off, I took them over to the bench and straightened them out as much as I could, because at some point it's going to be too far gone. I'll have too much bolted together, and I don't want to take it apart just to straighten a fender that I forgot to. So pay attention to the process, and it takes just a lot of thinking, you know. That's the deal. I like to sleep on stuff. When I get to a place where I just don't really know how to proceed, I used to go to bed, and you know, you end up thinking about that stuff in your sleep somehow, and wake up with some kind of idea that I didn't have before, and usually they work out pretty good. So yeah, take your time, measure, measure, measure. The key is that the more accurate that I have this in the beginning stages, the easier it's going to be to flesh it out, and then the end result is going to be good. So it really, really pays to take your time and measure it and make sure that everything is straight in every direction. And again, measure, measure, measure. Like, measure some more. Just keep measuring with the level, with squares, whatever you got. But this is getting tighter, and every time I think I've made some progress, I find out that I've got something else in the front there that won't fit. I had reshaped these radiator brackets and mounted them under here. Looks like that was a little too premature. So I'm gonna have to move these back and mount them right on top of this little frame here. And every time I try to put something in place, it seems like I've got to cut more off the front of this car. Ended up having to cut back the grill on the corners to get it to fit back enough, to get it back up against the radiator enough. And by the time we got the front of everything down low enough, it was coming in so tight. And then I had to cut part of the grill out to get the hood latch in. What's cool is I get to use the hood latch from the Cadillac. And so it'll still have the cable underneath the dash, right, that you can just pull to open the hood. Cutting this Cadillac apart, you end up with all kinds of weird shapes. So we're gonna have to build, like, cap all these holes off and build something that's gonna put the strength back in it, because it needs the strength from side to side across the front of the car. So make little patterns out of cardboard or whatever. Then we can cut this out of flat iron, a plate steel, and then weld it all back into place there. It's a lot of fun. But Sharpie, lots of cardboard, scissors. The shrinker, the stretcher, the bead roller. Man, I tell you, those are man's best friends when it comes to having to make little panels and little patch panels, and then, you know, little filler panels and whatever you have. It's just so neat to be able to manipulate that metal and make it the shape that you want it to be. And then when you weld it in there, it turns out to be quite nice. And we will do some cutting and fitting all the way in the engine bay along both sides, and build some actual mounts for the fenders. Typically on the 49, obviously the inside fender well, right, would bolt up along there, and that would give it its strength, but we don't have anything like that going on here. That's the fun part of this kind of a project, is you don't know what you're getting into. But here's what I know for sure. To take on a project like this, to do it this way, right, where you're putting a new car inside an old car, you got to love to weld, because that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be cutting and welding and cutting and welding. Oh, not to mention measuring. And so all of this welding is going to take a lot of time, a lot of hours. So if you don't like welding, then it's probably better to just, you know, take the body off the frame on the 49 and rebuild the frame and put the motor mounts in and put your small block Chevy in there, you know, on a new cross member at the back, and you know, remount the rear end, and then, you know, just have a nice hot rod. But I really want this to be a driving car, like a highway car. And one more thing. My wife is like, are you sure this is going to work? Maybe I shouldn't talk about it in front of her or to her, right? Like, if this is going to work or not, and, you know, we might have to take it to the scrap dealer. It just throws your confidence off. It's just, all you got is a garage full of rusty old metal now. I've got no Cadillac. You cut it to pieces. And I got her a nice truck for the winter, you know. Our 42 Chev, I mean, I rebuilt that thing to the max. So it's a really nice truck. But then I put in heated seats and extra heater, auxiliary heater, really nice winter tires, and got it all ready for her. But the problem is she's got a short wheelbase, and this 4x4 42 Chev panel truck is just too high. And she says, I hate that truck. I don't think I'm ever going to change her mind either. So the deal is, you know, okay, never mind. I just drive her everywhere I go and take my iPad and download these video files, and I edit it on my iPad and then upload it to YouTube so that, you know, I'm busy while she's shopping. But my job is to give her some confidence in this whole project, because she's got to be behind it, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than your wife pushing against you, and it can actually cause marriage problems, right? But if I really like talk it through and tell her how much it means to me and how much I care about this, she's so good to me. And but you know, that's our job, right? As men, to give confidence to our wives, to our kids, right? Maybe to our parents, whoever we got around us, and not say things that scare them and shake them up, right? Like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to work. I got to stop doing that. And just say, you know what, honey? I got this. I got this. I had a dream about it. And you know, my dreams always come true, right? And so that's my job, is to build that confidence. And what I like to do, I like to bring her out to the garage. I remember I was building the 55 Dodge pickup. And I said, honey, come on out to the garage. You got to see this. You got to see how good this is. See what it's good. So I put leather seats in it, got captain seats, and got the leather done on them. And so we got all that and set up in the truck. And so she jumps into the truck to see what it's going to be like, right? And then the door won't open and she can't get out. Oh man, just backfired on me. So the deal is, you know, find good ways, because she just doesn't want to come out here. She'll bring me a cup of tea or whatever, and then she just turns around and goes. I wish I could get her more interested in helping, especially when it comes to sanding, that kind of stuff. Actually, she's pretty good. She'll come and help me sand. But yeah, I just take it as one of the jobs, one of the responsibilities that goes along with building a project like this, is to give other people confidence. And let them know that, hey, you know what, this is going to be really cool. So I want you to subscribe to this and like it, or do whatever that YouTube stuff is you have to do, so that you can keep getting these episodes and watch this project unfold, and hopefully it'll be a help to you. But the other thing is, you can give me some comments. Maybe you think I'm overlooking something, or maybe you got a question, or maybe you got a suggestion. Yeah, don't be afraid. Love to hear from you.